So this week would have been an awkward PMQs for Keir Starmer as Prime Minister, a man leaving office, whatever you think of him, whatever he's got wrong, taking questions in a chamber, knowing he's leaving the job. These moments have a kind of a weight to them. Most politicians, whatever the party, understand that. Kemi Badenoch didn't quite get the memo.
I think that'll be the first to leave, please. Can I just say, think about the language you're using, because when we leave this chamber, don't be surprised when constituents feel they can use the same language against each other. Let us show a little bit more decorum and respect to each other.
That's the Speaker of the House of Commons stopping the session to address the Leader of the Opposition directly about her language on a resignation PMQs in a chamber where, in the last decade, 2 MPs have been murdered, both stabbed. Jo Cox outside her constituency surgery in 2016 and David Amess in his in 2021. The line that prompted it? Well, it's Badenoch laughing and telling the Prime Minister he had 400 knives stuck in his back. This is the sort of language from a woman who wants to be Prime Minister.
It's amazing. I've never seen this much excitement on the Labour benches. Yes, cheering so loudly while there are 400 knives stuck in his back. Shame on them. Shame on them.
But here's the thing with Badenoch. It wasn't just like a bad day or, a lapse in judgment or an uncharacteristic moment, a line that probably slipped under pressure. No, it's none of those things. It's a pattern and it's been building for months. Before we get to the pattern, let's establish what the job actually is, because there's a version of opposition that works and a version that doesn't. And understanding the difference kind of matters. The Leader of the Opposition has a specific task. It is not simply just to attack the government. That is the lazy version. The version you do when you have nothing else to offer. The actual job, the one that gets you from opposition to government, is harder and more specific than that. You're supposed to look like a government in waiting. That means pulling apart the government's plans in detail. But it also means that you're showing what you would do instead. Proposing your own agenda so clearly and consistently that when the government eventually pinches your ideas, as they most always do, you can stand up and say, well, that was ours. We thought of it first and we should be in power.
Has the Prime Minister's experiences opened his eyes to the need to rebuild Britain's relationship with our European friends and allies? Will he advise the right honourable gentleman, the member for Makerfield, to put his EU red lines in the past and adopt our plan for a new growth and defence partnership?
It's a long game and it requires discipline, consistency and the ability to project something beyond anger. I mean, because anger's easy. Any backbencher with a grudge can do anger. What you can't fake, what an electorate can smell the absence of from a mile away, is the sense that this person's actually thought about what governing would involve, that they have a plan and that they're ready. Kemi Badenoch's been the Conservative leader since November of 2024. So ask yourself, can you name her plan for the NHS, her position on housing, what she would do differently on defence spending, the subject that she actually raised in PMQs, beyond criticising the current figure? What does it actually stand for, beyond the things that she's against? Because what she does, and today in this session and most days, is the bulldog chewing a wasp version of opposition. Constant attack, no destination, every question designed to wound rather than to govern. There's a version of hard questions that says something about who you are and what you do, and there's a version that's just noise.
She taxed private schools to pay for more teachers, but the number of teachers has gone down. Yeah. It turns out appointing a spiteful class warrior as Education Secretary was a disaster. Yeah. Does the Prime Minister agree? Does the Prime Minister agree that he has been let down by her incompetence?
And this PMQs was just noise. Loud, relentless, occasionally effective noise, but still just noise. And the moment the Speaker had to intervene, the noise became something worse. So let's go back a few months. The King's Speech debate. Badenoch is on her feet, making the case against the government. Personal, reasonable territory. Then she says this.
The dread as they are sent out yet again to defend the indefensible. The injustice at feeling like pariahs in their own constituencies. Banned from pubs, banned from hairdressers, which is presumably why all the women on the front bench have the same hairstyle.
using women's appearances as a punchline from the leader of the opposition. Set aside for a moment that it is cheap. I mean, set aside that it is exactly the thing that she would, and rightly object to, if it was said about her. The more basic problem is that it tells you what register that she's operating in. Not a Prime Minister in waiting making a serious argument, a heckler who's happened to get the microphone. Then there's a separate PMQ session. Badenoch was raising the Matthew Doyle story. Starmer had given a peerage to someone who had campaigned for a man convicted of possessing indecent images of children. Now that is a legitimate scandal, a fair question to ask. But here's how she chose to ask it.
And how dare he criticise us? We weren't the ones stuffing government with hypocrites and paedophile apologists.
And in another session, deploying a phrase that she attributes to Labour's own backbenchers.
Mr. Speaker, I am amazed that while we're trying to talk about student loans, the Prime Minister has the cheek to talk about my party being smaller. His party is smaller too, including one MP who was arrested for child sex offences. So perhaps before he gets on his high horse, he should ask why his backbenchers are saying that they're being called the Pedo Defenders Party.
Now, the Matthew Doyle story was real, the peerage was indefensible, and Starmer eventually removed the whip. Badenoch was right to press it, but there is a way to prosecute a genuine scandal with precision and force, and there's a way just to reach for the most inflammatory language available and throw it across the chamber. In a session that opened with the Prime Minister expressing his thoughts for 2 children stabbed at a school in North London, knife crime, child stabbings, the leader of the opposition weapons of choice is paedophile apologist. And then the resignation PMQs, knife imagery again, laughing, it's all just a big joke to her, and so the Speaker stops the session.
My thoughts are also with those injured in the appalling attack in Edinburgh, which appears to be motivated by anti-Muslim hatred. Mr. Speaker, let's be clear, in this country, an attack on one of us is an attack on all of us. We will not stand for it, and the perpetrator will face the full force of the law. Let me commend our emergency services who responded to both incidents with outstanding bravery and professionalism in very difficult circumstances.
Yes, cheering so loudly while there are 400 knives stuck in his back.
3 different occasions, the same instinct every time. Go for the most incendiary thing to reach, regardless of what the moment calls for. Which makes what happened around her today all the more pointed. Here's Ed Davey, leader of the Liberal Democrats, not known for going easy on this government, especially when it comes to the care sector.
Mr. Speaker, can I also recognise how difficult it was for the Prime Minister to make the statement he did on Monday? It's an important reminder, as we debate issues robustly in this House, that we are all human, and it's something that everyone should remember.
One sentence, cost absolutely nothing and lands everything. He still made his political points. He did not soften his positions. He just acknowledged that the man across the dispatch box is a human being having a difficult day. Badenoch couldn't even manage to do that. Then there's Desmond Swayne, Conservative backbencher, one of the most rebellious MPs of the last decade, a man who has spent years voting against his own party's leadership and nobody's idea of a soft touch.
Mr. Speaker, I hope there's still time in which the Prime Minister will be able to enlighten his party as to the moral of the cautionary tale of Jim, who ran away from his nurse and was eaten by a lion.
Well, can I thank the right honourable gentleman? He's always most generous. And, Mr. Speaker, I'll never forget that just a few years ago I went on holiday in his constituency with my family, and I was in the kitchen of the place we were renting when somebody leant through the open door, and it was the right honourable gentleman with a bottle of champagne saying, "Welcome to the New Forest." And then he took time to speak to my family, including my wife's elderly father, and to my children. I thank him for his generosity in that.
Now, for those that don't know it, Jim is a cautionary tale about a boy who runs away from his nurse at the zoo and gets eaten by a lion. The nurse wasn't the problem, the lion was. Swayne's point is wrapped in Victorian poetry and delivered with a smile. And it was this: Starmer wasn't your enemy. Starmer was the nurse, the Labour Party as Jim, running away from him and towards something far more dangerous. The lion being Burnham or Reform or the chaos that follows. He simultaneously gives Starmer a gracious send-off and landing a warning shot against the Labour Party in the same breath, all wrapped up in a 200-year-old poem. And Badenoch, she had 6 exchanges and couldn't even find one moment like that. I mean, can you believe a Conservative backbencher who spent more years of being a thorn in his own side's parties found more human warmth for the outgoing Prime Minister than the woman leading the party did? Desmond Swayne read the room way better than she did. Badenoch's pitch is that she's the serious one, the grown-up, the straight talker who will rebuild the Conservative Party as a credible governing force. That pitch requires judgment. It requires knowing which moments to call for what, and it requires occasionally being something more than just the loudest voice in the room. Now, I must admit I did not have Kemi Badenoch outlasting Keir Starmer on my bingo card, but there is a number that sits under all of this. At the Makerfield by-election last week, the Conservatives got 2.2% of the vote. This is down from 34%. You don't rebuild from 2.2% by doing what she's constantly doing. You do not rebuild by attacking women's haircuts or lobbing the most inflammatory language available when precise argument would do way more damage. You rebuild by convincing people you are worth taking seriously again. What she keeps showing us instead is someone who thinks strength never means letting anything go, never acknowledging an occasion and never reading a room. Always just being the loudest voice, whatever the cost.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I was trying to do all of this with as much good grace as I could, but I shall certainly miss these exchanges.